Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Joe Tossi from TechTables.com, and you're listening to the Public Sector Show by Tech Tables. This podcast features human-centric stories from public sector CIOs, CISOs, and technology leaders across federal, state, city, county, and higher education. You'll gain valuable insights into current issues and challenges faced by top leaders. Through interviews, speaking engagements, live podcast tour events, we offer you a behind-the-mic look at the opportunities top leaders are seeing today. And to make sure you never miss an episode, head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and hit that follow button and leave a quick rating. Just tap the number of stars that you think this show deserves. Welcome to the Public Sector Show by Tech Tables. Super excited to have you all on. And Joe Way is a returning guest again.
It's good to be back. It's like deja vu.
I know. I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's start down here because we've got the hometown.
Yes, sir.
Say town? Is that kind of small city?
It's just a tiny little town.
Tiny little town.
They do a few music things here every now and again. So,
BC, give us a quick intro.
my name is BC Hatchett. I'm the Director of Classroom Technology for Vanderbilt University. Also the co-founder of HETMA, the Higher Education Technology Managers Alliance. We manage all of the classroom and learning spaces on the campus, except for a few carve-outs. And we strive to provide the best possible support for our students and faculty so that they have the best possible experience and outcomes in their learning environments.
Tell us a little bit more about HETMA.
So we are the advocacy organization for the higher ed AV vertical. Higher ed AV is a massive, massive industry, and we want to make sure that technology managers, and when I say technology managers, I don't mean people that are managers of an organization, I mean managers of technology itself. We want to make sure that their voices are heard in the industry and their needs are being met by suppliers and manufacturers and other partners so that they can take those solutions back to their campuses and implement them so their faculty, and like I said, their faculty and students can have the best outcomes.
Ben?
Ben Mobies with Ericsson. A lot of people know us as Cradlepoint from on-campus networks. I've been in this sector for about 30 years now, which kind of crazy to hear myself say that. I don't feel that old, but it's been an interesting time working with schools, both K through 12 and higher ed, on technology and helping bring connectivity to students. I did a lot of the first Wi-Fi networks across many campuses way back in the day. And now we're doing a lot more bringing in 5G and other technologies to help basically implement newer forms of connectivity where and when needed across campuses.
Joe?
Joe Way, Executive Director, Digital Spaces at UCLA. Great title, tells you nothing about what I do. So I oversee all the different verticals across our enterprise. That would be our traditional classroom support, but our executive conference room, digital signage, live events, security. I'm sure there's other areas, our live streaming service, et cetera, and all of our production. So all those different verticals report up through me. And then as well, I am the other co-founder of HETMA, the Higher Education Technology Managers Alliance. And it's good to be here and be at EDUCAUSE.
Shameless plug. We've done a virtual episode. We did an episode at USC when you were there. We did one here last year. We will plug all those in the show notes, and we will also plug HETMA in the show notes too. Link back to that. I think I got this. Vanderbilt for 20 years. Woo! That's pretty incredible. Did you picture that you would be at Vanderbilt for 20 years?
Man, AV wasn't even on my roadmap when I graduated college. I used to work in broadcasting.
Okay.
I was a production manager, and that 24/7, 365 grind was rough, was very rough. And an opportunity came available at Vanderbilt, and I just threw my hat in the ring, and it hit. So, and I was like, well, I'll do this a little while and kind of see where I go from here. But I honestly fell in love with working in higher ed and decided to make that, my career.
When we met on our intro call, we talked about, you were telling me about the satellite campuses.
Yes.
Are a big one. I just had Dr. Vanessa Keenan on and Tanya Bennett. So Vanessa's at UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio. Tanya's at UPenn. And I was like, no, guess what? I've got, because we were talking about satellite campuses. Yeah. And I was like, I got BC Hatchett from Vanderbilt. He's coming on next. Talk about, we've got New York, West Palm Beach, San Francisco. You want to deliver that Vanderbilt experience.
Yes.
2,000 miles away. Walk us through that vision. How are you seeing that?
Yeah, so that's where our goal is. I mean, they're not just satellite campuses. They're going to be like a piece of the Vanderbilt ecosphere, right? They're going to have their own vibe, their own lifeblood. But we're trying to figure out how do we support that 2,000 miles away. But we want to replicate the experience that our faculty have on campus. So we're looking at solutions and ways to manage it remotely in Nashville, but they can have that same outstanding experience no matter what city they're teaching out of.
Yeah, that's great. Just kind of a short follow-up, being kind of in higher ed for 20 years, what have you seen that you're like, hey, I just don't think that works. I think this works over here as you're kind of starting to craft what the vision of this looks like.
Well, I've seen a massive evolution in content delivery and the way that teaching is delivered. I mean, we had where Vanderbilt is primarily a residential learning environment. Like, we want all of our students on campus to be able to learn, interact with each other, grow with each other. That's kind of how we deliver instruction. But also, I mean, with since 2020, we've seen a huge amount of video come in, and it's not just folks, teaching remotely. It's bringing in subject matter experts and content experts into the classroom from wherever they are. The logistics for that have been completely decimated, because one Zoom call or one Teams call, and you can have whoever is an expert in whatever engineering field or medical field come into the classroom for a session and teach those students without ever having to leave wherever they're from. It just drops those barriers of content delivery.
Ben, let's jump over to you. So you mentioned it, you've been working with K-12, higher education, on mobile learning environments, connectivity beyond the traditional campuses. We got school buses, I was reading, satellite campuses. Ericsson powers 60%, tell me if I lied on that, 60% of 5G calls in the US. And you're trying to help universities think about connectivity in completely different ways. Walk us through how you think 5G is transforming that concept of learning.
Yeah, so I mean, it is about connectivity. Ultimately, most people, especially at the end user side, they don't really care how they're connected. They just need to be connected. They need to be connected in a secure way, so they're not bringing on viruses and other things that can harm their own device and the network in general. They just want it to work, right? And so 5G is a little different from Wi-Fi in that Wi-Fi was a solution that we had to have because data connectivity over cellular didn't exist 20 years ago. We get kind of comfortable with this idea of pulling out our phone and being able to go on Google and search and look at videos, et cetera. And 15 years ago, even 10, it was difficult. But when we were doing this 15, 20 years ago, it was the only way to bring connectivity was Wi-Fi. As cellular data became more prevalent, and we started being able to bring cellular to a user more inside the campus, we started seeing some differences. It can be challenging at times from coverage inside of new buildings or even an older structure. Cellular technology in general penetrates and brings connectivity across a broader spectrum than Wi-Fi sometimes. So we have this new dynamic where kids are bringing in devices that are cellular connected and wanting to get them on the Wi-Fi network. And for the first time, we're actually struggling with making something that was the only way to connect devices work 20 years ago, keep up with the prevalence of cellular. And so we're starting to get to this inflection point where it's like, well, why don't I just bring cellular everywhere? If kids are bringing these devices onto the campus today and expecting it to work like it works outside or where they're in their home, I now have to think differently about how I construct that inside of a learning institution. But it's this seamless connectivity that we are used to with our phones. It just, you bring it out of your pocket, it just works. I want that with my laptop. I want to be able to be on campus and have it work inside my classroom, go into my dorm room and have it work, take it to a coffee shop off campus and have it work in the same exact way, and not have to decide, oh, wait, I'm in a public hotspot, should I turn on a VPN for connectivity, to be secure? Or now I'm in a train station, should I worry about this? It just should work everywhere seamlessly. And so that's the expectation now that kids are bringing to a campus network. And so we're trying to help provide that for our campus customers.
Just like that explosion of IoT and every device is connected to something and connectivity. I was traveling all through Southern Tennessee leading up to this, and I needed to stay connected, let me tell you. Joe, I want to jump back over here. You wrote an article in Forbes recently. Maybe it was like 12 hours ago. I don't know. It was published 12 hours ago. Right in my LinkedIn feed, I was like, and open? So you wrote about when classrooms think and how AI is shifting higher ed's value prop from information delivery to synthesis and application. Walk us through how you're seeing that vision play out at UCLA.
Yeah, no, great question. And I want to kind of bounce it off of something Ben said, because it was wise, which is why you're also a global leader here in what y'all do. One of the things when we're talking about the student experience isn't just about being connected, but it's about bringing learning to where they are, and how they live, because we're not just a classroom of four walls anymore and a projector sitting up on a screen. This is really a cultural environment, you know? I got into Nashville early this week and got to go to my first SEC football game, and I'm there and the students are in. There is not a single one that's not sitting there on a phone, trying to live stream, trying to, Snapchat, whatever is going on. And now we also have to bring that to the educational experience, right? And so what we're doing at UCLA is saying, okay, how can we leverage AI? And how can we use it to make sure that we can cater all experiences to them directly? Because one thing that AI does extremely well, it's a great translator. It's a great aggregator of experience. And so we're trying to take that and say, look, the classroom doesn't just need to come in and talking head anymore. We can actually allow all of our tools to work together, from our LMS systems to our classroom technologies to smart buildings. We can actually make sure that we're more sustainable, that we're actually bringing digital equity to our students and allowing that to be a translator for us. And that's why we're trying to move all of our technologies to cloud-based services, right? We want to be able to say, look, the one thing that a student wants and needs is, and we're in beautiful Los Angeles, right? And you're in Beverly Hills, guess where they want to study? Out in the lawn, right? That's where they want to be. Well, guess what? It can't just think about Wi-Fi and connectivity in a building. It's easy to do there, not necessarily in all of the hills, right? And so we want to make sure that all the tools are there in their hands, in their laptops, so that they can create that experience. And that goes all the way into the dorm experience. One of the nice things about my role is I cater to the entire experience of a day. We ended up going through, and I think I'm jumping ahead to one of your questions, but that's okay. I will steal the show. I have no problem doing that. No, because what we did, we actually looked at the day in the life of a student. Instead of saying, okay, here's the classroom. No, they wake up, they want to order their coffee. They maybe have to do some wayfinding. They're going to go to Poly Pavilion at night and watch a basketball game. They're going to go to the Student Health Center. They're going to meet people at a group study space. They're going to head to a library. They might go to a faculty center to meet with a faculty member for lunch. We're in Hollywood. They might go out, and hit the clubs, and then come back and get stopped by security on the way back in. Hit their fraternity stories. Like, we're looking at this and we started going, okay, how many campus systems do they interact with in a day of a life? And we just kept running out of space, And I think when you're here, like, look at EDUCAUSE and you're looking at the show floor with all of these booths, right? Students interact with every single one of these booths every single day, right? And that's how we're leveraging AI. And I took your very short question and turned it into a very long answer.
How is UCLA thinking about that broadly, as far as like, hey, we want to keep bringing everyone along?
Yeah, no, a great question. This is kind of where, I believe we have a responsibility as an R1 institution to bring that. We actually offer OpenAI subscriptions to every student, right? We allow them to be able to have this. So now, obviously not everybody is going to have the 17 Pro Max. Not everybody is going to have the new iPad, but surprisingly, we do find that smartphones are the one things that students will not live without, right? But we also offer services, our laptop checkout services, for example, moving our libraries and the old desktop, computers there to do work, and go, let's put, mobile devices in their hands so they can do this. And then let's make sure all the tools they need, like, OpenAI or, Gemini, I think we do that as well, and make sure that that is there for them and they have that opportunity. And the flip side of that too is now working with our Teaching and Learning Center to say, now you also have to work with the faculty to allow them to, allow the students to leverage these tools. And I know this is a sticky topic, and you ask 10 different faculty what they think about AI, and you're going to get 20 different answers, right? But what we want to say is, look, it's not going anywhere. We have a responsibility. How can we work with you so that, rather than not worrying whether or not AI is going to write their paper, make them write 5 different papers using AI and figure out as going to my article, the synthesis between those things. And now that's real learning, right? Yeah. And so, but again, it's adapting the methodologies and creating those atmospheres and making it easy for faculty to do so.
The last thing before I move to BC, because I know he just took over the show.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
So in your Forbes article, you had mentioned...
You said go to BC, and then I wasn't paying attention. Okay?
In basketball, that's called a pump fake, and you jumped. You talked about faculty needing to shift from content deliverers to catalysts of collaborative personal experiences. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you your hot take here, and I kind of allude to this in the article as well. There is nothing at a 4-year institution at an undergraduate level that you cannot learn on YouTube, period. We at higher ed used to be the deliverers of content. If you had to learn a skill or learn something, you had to go to college, right? Because everything was in books, right? You had to be able to have that resource. You had to have the faculty members' knowledge. You don't need that anymore, right? If something breaks in your house, guess what you do? You go on YouTube and all of a sudden you became a great plumber, right? Because that's exactly our life. So what we need to do now is recognize that the information is free and out there. So how do we justify that tuition rate that people are paying? We now need to make them synthesizers and collaborators of that information, right? And allow them to be able to do that. And so that's why we're having to shift this. And that's where I think we have opportunities with AI, for example, but also with just adapting pedagogies, right? And saying, look, maybe your class time isn't best used speaking at the students anymore, right? Just give them the resources on the LMS and say, have these ready before you show up. Let's have group discussion. Let's have debate. Use AI, go find something, Google search, 4 different contradictory opinions about this topic, and let's debate that. That's where an R1 institution can excel and have that, that value proposition that now is lost in not being the, givers of information.
BC, we'll jump back to you.
All right.
You can now take a break.
I'm waiting for the pump fake here again.
So I think you told me there are 9 different colleges at Vanderbilt. Is there 1 or 2, kind of great use cases from one of those colleges where you created something that helped elevate the higher ed experience?
We've got, it's almost a small city, right? We've got a movie theater classroom for our cinema media arts. We've got a trial courtroom simulation space for our law school. So, those are specialized spaces, but I'd take a little more of a broad view, right? We want to give them excellent experiences in all their spaces. And I kind of go back to our partnerships we have with faculty. Like, we actively encourage them, tell us what's not working for you. Like, what do you need to be successful? And I'm thinking of a space when I started doing this early on where the faculty were just not happy. Like, this space does not work for us. It's constantly broken. And it was low-hanging fruit, but once we got it fixed and got it right, they could not have been happier. And I was like, this is why we do that. We want them to be able to not have technology as something that blocks them from being able to deliver instruction because it's not working or it's not working well to them. Because we're technologists, we understand how this stuff works. They want to go in and teach. So how do you bridge those two things to make it almost a seamless experience for them?
Yeah. When I got to visit, I'm sorry, USC, it keeps coming up. It's just always going to come up.
I am an SC alum,
Yeah.
So it's okay. We could, I might get paid by the enemy, but
He gave us a 2-hour tour. So this was like hands-on. My daughter was with me. We're going into the classrooms. We're getting the whole campus. If you were going to pitch this to either new faculty or even some new students, specifically on the education technology side, what would you be most proud to share?
I would say right now is kind of our new initiative of simplifying how people connect to the equipment. So you would go into the old classrooms and you'd have 5 different cables and 20 different buttons you had to push to even connect something up. We've worked pretty hard to simplify that down to just a connection, one single cable and one single button. So that way it cuts the faculty startup time to maybe a minute or 2. So they just walk in, you're talking about a 5-10 minute changeover in class time. They walk in, plug in, hit a button, they're off and running at that point. So when you break it down to time in a classroom, that's real dollars. You could have hundreds of thousands to $1 million or something worth of tuition dollars sitting in a classroom at one moment. And if you're not delivering on the instruction during that time, that's lost time and lost dollars in the education side.
Ben, so you've got the perspective of both the parent and kind of your current position right now. So let's talk about campus safety. That needs connectivity, right? The important piece. So as you're working across K-12, higher ed, this could be mobile learning environments, walk us through a really transformative either use case or story that really spoke to you.
It was interesting doing the college campus tours. I did it with my older kid who's a graduate now, and then the younger 2 that are seniors now. So a couple years ago, but not that far. One of the interesting things that I saw when we did the campus outdoor part of the tour was everybody talked about their blue lights and the safety across the campus of their network, and which makes you feel good as a parent, right? I want to know that my daughter is going to be safe at midnight as she's walking back from ROTC to her dorm, and which does happen, and that does make you feel good. But then on my work side of the house, one of the things I see quite regularly is as we go and actually build these networks for blue lights, a lot of them don't work at any given period of time, and it's scary, right? As again, the non-parent side of me who sees how often these don't work gets kind of freaked out, right? Campuses are construction magnets. There's tons of buildings all the time being built, and the fiber networks are constantly, unfortunately, getting trenched. And so it's really hard to know when that old copper line, a lot of those blue lights are running on POTS lines, plain old telephone service. And if they get trenched, or the fiber that's running it back to a SIP line somewhere, it gets trenched, oftentimes you don't know, because the light itself might be running power off of a different source. So the blue light that's on might be working, but the phone line that supplies it is down. And I've seen campuses that have anywhere from 20 to 60% of their network, of their blue lights not working at any given time. And so the liability to the campus is massive if you have a student who needs to press that button and can't. And just the danger to the student is high, right? Because they're expecting it to work, right? And so if it wasn't there, it'd be a little different. Maybe I'd have my phone out at all times, ready to press a button. So that worries me. And so having other ways to bring connectivity to IoT sources, whether it's cameras located in less trafficked parts of the campus and blue lights that I know are going to work, that is important to me as a parent, right? And so as well as just connectivity, like we've already talked about, to student access across campus. So safety on the campus itself. University of Georgia had a very unfortunate situation about a year ago, which is highly publicized. And so they've added a massive amount of both video surveillance as well as an increased number of blue lights around campus to help protect students. So that made me wake up a lot more, with having kids on campus at the same time and knowing what we can do, right? So we can provide connectivity anywhere on that campus. We can provide security from a remote surveillance, and then using AI to run analytics on those cameras, so that you can't have somebody watching every camera across campus at all time, but you can have analytics systems behind the scene saying, okay, there shouldn't be a person in that zone right now. There shouldn't be someone laying down in that corner. Maybe it's a student who's passed out from having too much fun. That happens, right? So I want an analytics engine to be able to say, somebody needs to go check that out and get over to them rapidly. That's what we can do, and so I loved seeing that when we enable those technologies on campuses.
And there's a lot of great crossovers. I normally interview a lot of CIOs and CISOs and folks like that, and one of the recent use cases I heard in the news was from Khalid Tawfik, also past guest on the podcast. There were a number of homeless camps, and they actually ran analytics and was using AI to identify when certain camps were just getting out of control, and kind of what was going on, where to deploy resources. So like where should police go, or maybe not police go, and which I think is like a really great use case, especially the amount of data that you guys pick up across the entire portfolio is, I'm sure a lot. So as we wrap up, I'd love to hear from the two of you. You guys have been on the podcast so many times. I went on the HETMA page, and I don't know, you guys have been there like eight or nine times. I'd love for you to kind of take this over a little bit and hear from you, and then we're gonna have Ben chime in. What have been some of the I don't normally interview AV folks. We do because we got a relationship. I'd love to hear like what are some of the best episodes, and a lot of our listeners are CIOs in public sector, and so I think for them, things they don't hear about often enough would be AV. GIS is probably another one. What are some of the top episodes that you guys have seen?
Oh, wow.
I mean, episode one.
One is always the most fun. That was probably the most fun that I've had in a long time there. Yeah, I mean, just trying to, a lot of the episodes, especially the ones that I've been on, it's more conversational. Like we just kind of talk and find a thread and pick that thread and sees where it goes from there. So that's a lot of what the first episode was. Neither one of us really knew what we were doing and just started talking, and it went from there.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, well, I mean, obviously there's the episode where your daughter makes a cameo, right? You know,
That was
so
pretty cool.
there we go.
That was pretty cool.
No, you know, it's interesting because, you know, for those who aren't familiar with my podcast, Hired AV, I just interview tech managers, people, but it's not even necessarily the manager. Sometimes it is, you know, an executive level, or sometimes it's the support desk person, right? And I think what always gets me is their story and how they got to where they are, where they want to go. One of my shticks is I don't script anything because I want them to tell their story. And when they say something and I think it's interesting, I'm going to go there, right? And I would never know that just by looking at a LinkedIn page and, you know, oh, you've been here for 8 years, blah, blah, blah. Looks like you know. And so I can get that organicness and it's just like, I just love seeing life change, you know? And like, how did you get, because we all have a weird, you know.
There's no bachelor of AV, right? Like nobody's going to school and say, hey, I'm going to have a bachelor's in AV and what. Everybody has found their way to this industry in their own, you know, their own unique journey. And it's always fun to hear, well, I did X, Y, and Z for a while, and then I took a job in this university because I this sounded like a good idea at the time, and then they fell in love with it, and they've continued to grow their career from that. So hearing how people made their journey into higher ed is always one of the most fun things.
Yeah, and I would say probably, now that I think about it, in my home studio, I've got all kinds of related equipment. I got the Rodecaster, I've got the switchboard, I've got the video. See, and I'm so bad. I've had to, as I've running the business, I've had to somewhat remove myself from all of the. I used to geek out on this stuff. Like the was back in the day, I'd go to Radio Shack.
Oh,
and
I miss Radio Shack.
I would be like reading manuals and talking to somebody, and then now it's a little bit different. But the good old days, that was a lot of fun, and so that's probably the closest resemblance I can have. Kind of.
The real question is, do you still have the box of miscellaneous adapters and cables somewhere in your garage as a just in case, right?
I mean, if you don't have it, do you truly work in tech?
That's
That's kind of right.
Is that it?
I think I went to like a swap meet and dropped everything off. Yeah.
I never have a more higher sense of accomplishment than when I need something and I reach down into that box and I find it. And I'm like, yes, I'd saved this for 10 years and it paid off.
In Southern California, there is not enough space to hold stuff for 10 years. Ben, as we wrap up, what either insights or lessons or non-obvious, insights are you seeing across the portfolio right now at Ericsson?
Yeah, it's a great time to work for a company like Ericsson, right? 5G and just cellular connectivity as a whole across public sector like police, as well as we do a lot in the military. I also work in that sector. It's very interesting. Can't talk about a lot of it, but it's really, really cool. And it's, again, connectivity is everything across all of our worlds now. If you're not connected to something at all times, you feel naked and lost. And whether that's a good thing or not is a discussion maybe for another podcast, but it's the reality that we're in. And so we bring connectivity. And so it's a fun place to be. Talking about, being in this sector for a long time, I had no idea when I was graduating from college that this is what I was going to do. I thought I was going to fly fighter planes. And life took a different turn, right? And I'm so happy that I'm here because every day is different and fun. And that a very lucky and incredible place to be.
Yeah, the kind of premise for this episode was in the kind of higher education V space, but there are great use cases across police, first responders, as far as connectivity. It's just, everything's connected these days, right?
You don't, and that's it, is you don't realize how much things are connected until you're without it, right? Like, it's really cool projects we're doing. We are doing real-time safety center. We are supporting, for LA 28, for Olympic Village. And you just don't realize, like, especially in our sector, in higher ed, we're EDUCAUSE, we think about things in a classroom in sense, from wayfinding, digital signage, menu boards in the Starbucks to everything is so involved and it's everywhere. And like you said, even your home studio, right? Well, how about now that most of our people are remote, how many, and probably BC did this too, how many times did you have to go to, say, your chancellor's house and set up, Zoom rooms for them, right? So because guess what? Where are they taking most of their meetings from now, right? And so now every space has had to become an interconnected space to the greater ecosystem that is the university, right? And so, and it's just, so it's amazing. It's great. It keeps us employed, which is a great thing of how connected everything has to be, not just the four walls of a classroom.
Have you gone to a chancellor's house and set up a Zoom room?
I've not had to do that yet. Not yet.
That would be a great podcast episode, by the way. I think that would be, that'd be pretty good.
All right.
Thank you for coming on the Public Sector Show by Tech Tables. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Joe Tossi from TechTables.com, and you're listening to the Public Sector Show by Tech Tables. This podcast features human-centric stories from public sector CIOs, CISOs, and technology leaders across federal, state, city, county, and higher education. You'll gain valuable insights into current issues and challenges faced by top leaders. Through interviews, speaking engagements, live podcast tour events, we offer you a behind-the-mic look at the opportunities top leaders are seeing today. And to make sure you never miss an episode, head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and hit that follow button and leave a quick rating. Just tap the number of stars that you think this show deserves.